Hi, this is Hot Chocolate with Paul. Today I thought I would talk about hearing loss, mine in particular. I've been hard of hearing since birth. It runs in the family. It affected my grandfather, my mother, me, one of my two sisters, and one of my three daughters. I guess we've all had a similar type of hearing loss, some variations between us. But for me, it's the mid-range frequencies. A lot of people think of it when you get older, you start to lose some of the higher end frequencies. But for me, it's more of a mid-range. So what that does for me is it makes people's voices sound muddy to me when they're talking to me. So a lot of this is corrected as much as it can be with a hearing aid. I do wear hearing aids. And yeah, they whistle when they feedback. But it affects me in the sense that it's difficult for me to hear conversations. So when I wear the hearing aids, it brings a lot of it back. I mean, it doesn't completely correct it like eyeglasses do. I remember the first time I ever put eyeglasses on, the very first thought that came to my mind was, wow, everything is so clear and corrected. People think that hearing aids correct hearing as clearly as eyeglasses correct vision. Well, they don't. Hearing aids pick up a lot of noise that's around. And in noisy situations, I still have a lot of difficulty, even though technology has improved them quite a bit. It's still very difficult for me to have a conversation with somebody in a noisy environment. And many times I just take the hearing aids off. Like if Stacy and I are out listening to music or something, I'm trying to, in a bar or someplace where we're watching a live band, I completely give up on trying to talk with anybody while the music is playing. I'll take my hearing aids off because it's just easier to deal with. Unless it's really, really loud, then I leave the hearing aids on but turn them off, and thus my hearing aids become earplugs. So my life of wearing hearing aids really began in kindergarten. It was my first kindergarten teacher who noticed that I was not hearing things the way other kids were. But visually, I was noticing more things than the other kids were, looking around the classroom, being more observant than a lot of the other kids. So she told my mother, or reported it to my mother, and my mother took me in for hearing tests, and they confirmed that I had hearing loss. So at that time, my parents could only afford one hearing aid for me. So from the age of 5 or 6 until I was in my early 30s, I only wore one hearing aid. And I thought that was all I really needed for me to be able to hear what was going on around me. But I was in my early 30s when our youngest daughter was found to also have hearing loss. And then it became apparent to me that I was doing myself a disservice by only wearing one hearing aid. I became a real advocate for her, as well as learning for myself what I should have been doing for myself all of these years. So after we got her fitted with new hearing aids, I stepped up to the plate for myself and started wearing two hearing aids myself. So now they're on both ears. And, even then in my 30s, I was amazed at the difference between wearing just one hearing aid and two hearing aids. People ask, are they expensive? Yes, they are expensive. Insurance does not pay for them. You can get a nice fancy pair of eyeglasses and have insurance pay for a good chunk of it. Hundreds of dollars. But with hearing aids, you're talking thousands of dollars, and insurance will not pay for it. So there's something wrong with our healthcare system where they put more effort into fancy eyeglasses or fashionable eyeglasses and hearing aids. And the other problem with hearing aids is the stigma that goes with them. People think there's something wrong with somebody who can't hear, and therefore people are embarrassed to wear hearing aids. There's nothing embarrassing about it. For me, what's really embarrassing is when I don't hear something. I've been caught so many times in my life with somebody trying to say something to me, and I don't even know they're talking to me, especially somebody that's behind me. I do lip read, not to the point where somebody can be sitting across from the room and talking, and without me hearing what they're saying, I can lip read perfectly and know exactly what it is they're saying. It doesn't work like that. It's a combination of me hearing the sounds that they make when they're talking, seeing their lips move, and seeing expressions on their faces. And sometimes when people are talking with their hands like this, then, it adds to the communication. So with hearing aids, it's improved my life quite a bit, and hearing aid technology has improved quite a bit through the years as well. The pair that I'm wearing right now, I've had for, I think, about a year to a year and a half, and they're the best so far. Every time I get new hearing aids, anywhere from 5 to 8 years, however long I make them last, the technology has improved within that time so that they're better than the previous generation of hearing aids. What I have now is digital. Most of my life I was wearing analog hearing aids. And even when I went from analog to digital, there was a change there because my brain was wired, in a sense, to how analog hearing aids sounded and worked. And I had to adapt to something new. So the first digital hearing aids that I had were actually programmed to sound like analog hearing aids did. Decent analog hearing aids just weren't available anymore. They're not making them anymore. And people ask me, where do I get my hearing aids from? I'm going to flat out say it's Ontario Hearing Aids on Monroe Avenue in Rochester. I'm more than happy to give them a plug because they have worked so well with me for decades. They have audiologists there. I will not go to a place where it's just a hearing aid salesman. I do remember one time years ago, there was an ad that came up that said, we'll come to your house and give you a free hearing test. So I had the guy come to my house. It was okay. He gave me a hearing test. And the end result of the test itself was nothing different from what I already knew. I need hearing aids. And then he proceeded with a very high pitch, what's the word I'm trying to think of? A strong sales pitch to get me to buy the hearing aids that he was trying to buy. I'm not going to say the brand, but it is a brand that's in ads a lot, and I don't trust them because they don't have the experts working with you to get the proper settings on your hearing aids the way they should be. And, they can be programmed, they can be reprogrammed. So what I want is a qualified audiologist to do my hearing aids, to do my hearing test, and then fit me with the type of hearing aids that I need and be able to use modern technology to do testing on both the hearing aids and on me and how I'm hearing things. They put these little sensors inside my ear canal underneath the hearing modes. And all of that comes together to create settings on my hearing aids that really work for me. So what kind of things have I gone through in my life being a hard of hearing person? Well, I certainly have had people that probably think I'm stupid. I don't run into that quite so much anymore, but I have run into that. I've had people who mimic in a satire sort of way that they're doing sign language, that they're talking to me. Like, do you understand what I am saying to you? I've had that happen to me. I think it's quite rude. I've had people, it's difficult when people are trying to talk to me and you're covering your mouth like this, and I need to be able to see their face. I can't have a conversation when I can't see their face like this. It's difficult. Group settings are very difficult. Typically, the more people that are in a group and the more conversation that goes on, the noisier it gets. I start to fade away and I'll sit there quietly and just mind my own business, especially if nobody's talking to me. In a situation like that, sometimes I do zone in on one or two people that are speaking loudly enough that I can hear them. See, here's the situation. If there's a group, if I'm in a group of people and there's a lot of people talking, my hearing aids are going to pick up the loudest people that are talking. So if you're sitting this close to me, but you're speaking very quietly, but there's another person over here who's speaking louder, I'm going to hear this person and not the person that I'm trying to talk to. So it's something I don't like doing, but I tend to shy away from people who aren't speaking loudly enough to me. If I can't hear them, I can't have a conversation with them. That's all there is to it. So that's what I'll do is, either fade away in a conversation or just sometimes talk with whoever sounds loudest to me. If we're sitting at a table of, say, 8 people at a bar or something like that, I'll talk to whoever's across from me or somebody who's next to me, maybe even kitty corner a little bit. But for somebody down at the other end of the table, it's just not going to happen. And then if we're out where there's music playing, I like to get there early before the music starts so that we can have a conversation. And then when the music starts, I fade out of any conversations going on, and then I just sit there and listen to the music. And like I said, while I'm listening to the music, I very often take my hearing aids off anyways. The thing for me about listening to music, and this might sound kind of crazy, but a lot of times I prefer to have my hearing aids off while I'm listening to music. Maybe it's just because I'm so used to the way it sounds to me, but I tend to enjoy it more that way. I also tend to focus on the drums and the bass player. And I've thought about that a lot. I think a lot of it is because for me, the drums really do cut through the sound, and maybe that had something to do with the fact that I ended up becoming a drummer myself. I listen to the bass player, and when I am playing drums in a band, I tend to lock in to the bass player and groove to the same rhythm or the same beat or the same groove as far as what the music is being played. So I really do lock into bass players. I know a lot of people get really, really excited about guitar players. Guitars are not my primary music to listen to. I actually get more out of listening to keyboard. I think one of the things about guitars is I think a lot of times the frequencies that guitars are playing at is down in that mid-range for me, where I'm not hearing like lead guitar solos, for example, as well as I might hear a bass player. Especially if you put distortion or fuzz boxes on or something like that. Then it becomes really difficult. I mean, unless a guitar soloist is really, the volume is really prominent to me, a lot of it doesn't mean all that much to me. And then I lean back on listening to the bass player and the drummer. Keyboards, for some reason, tend to be more across the board for me, as far as frequencies go. I really enjoy listening to piano. As far as electronic keyboards, I guess it depends what sounds they're trying to get out of them at any particular point in a song. You know, they can switch off and do different sounds for different songs and even switch off different sounds within a song. Lyrics are almost impossible. It's the muddy voice effect for me. There are so many songs that I've been hearing for 50 or 60 years, and I still don't know what the words are, or most of the words. I might know some key phrases here and there, and maybe I'll sing along a little bit to it. But a lot of times I still don't know what the lyrics are. There used to be a time in the 70s and 80s in particular when albums came out, and they very often had lyrics printed on either the album cover or the inner sleeve. And I learned a lot of lyrics that way. Paradise by the Dashboard Light, that's how I got to learn all the lyrics to that, is just by reading the lyrics that are written on the inner sleeve. And that goes for a lot of others. Since I started doing karaoke about 4 or 5 years ago, I've started paying more attention to a lot of lyrics. It's easier when the words are right in front of you. So words can be very difficult for me. And I know I've twisted words around many times through the years. So that's some of what my life as a hard of hearing person is like. I don't feel sorry for myself in any way. I just learn to adapt to a situation. One thing I really appreciate in my wife, Stacy, is she recognizes that I don't let lack of being able to hear something hold me back. If it's something I really, really want, I will try very hard to find a way to make it work for me. And that's what I do. So those are some of my thoughts as being a hard of hearing person, and that's all I've got for today. Have a good day. Hot Chocolate with Paul is a video log of life experiences that I feel might inspire other people. I'm a minimalist 60-plus geezer in the making. Sometimes my wife Stacy will appear. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can catch new videos whenever they come out.